If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option, as Sori says. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/VillageXchange. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
Breaking up with you, okay? Please stop crying. I'm moving away with your auntie. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's my stomach. The doctor said it's explosive diarrhea. It's disgusting. I don't know what I'm gonna do. She thinks I'm vegan. I've been eating meat for 3 years without her knowing. I don't know what I'm gonna do, oh my God. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I ran over my next door neighbour's cat. I've had to bury it in the garden. I know. No, I'm in so much trouble. She thinks I go to the gym 3 times a week. I've really been sleeping with her cousin. I don't know what I'm gonna do. My girlfriend's asked me to marry her. Thing is, I'm already married. And she don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of these clips with him saying these horrible things and just watching people like eavesdrop and react.
All right, guys. So you guys have done a marginally decent job of getting us likes. So that's good.
We'll do another one.
We will give you props for that. But we told you guys 40, and we're not at 40. So unfortunately...
Oh. Okay, Ben, just reschedule the stream with me.
Or do you think we should just keep trying to keep going? Maybe
well, let's give one more song.
Maybe
let's do one more song.
Listen, they can be thumbs up or thumbs down, but we have got to get to 40. That's YouTube just told. They sent me an email. They said, "Listen, bruh, listen. If you guys can't get to
there was a thumbs down.
At least 40 likes and dislikes a show, we're gonna have to cancel your program and replace you guys with reaction channels that are."
You know,
gonna do that for
wow.
50 hours a day. All right, guys, here we go. Has anybody ever been able to translate what I put up there from Sergey? Because that'd be great. Shout out to Sergey. Okay, all right, guys, here we go. Here we go. Song numero tres. Let's hear from our DJ first, and then we'll get into it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, what if he's here?
3.
He's one of our people.
Yeah. Of the VNS community has been waiting quite some time for a little coverage of this next band. I felt that the stream would afford the perfect opportunity to debut them for Vin and Sori. It is time to be entombed. The first song is actually considered Death and Roll. Not rock and roll, death and roll, which
okay.
is a genre.
Oh, there's E-Fog there. Okay.
I've never heard of before. Wait, here's who?
E-Fog 3 right there.
Okay, good.
Here he is. Let's check it out.
All right, guys, we're gonna check this out now. Song number 3 is Entombed. Oh, we didn't get the lyrics for that. Talk to the people.
Oh, okay.
Gotta talk to the people. It's a
yeah.
death mess.
So E-Fog, I don't know how long have you been asking for this song for? When I'm putting the songs, I'm like, oh my gosh! Anytime that a villager, this has happened on a number of times in the village, where somebody will buy a song for somebody else and surprise them, or just see that the person's been asking constantly. Remember, we had that one person that every single video they were asking for this certain song.
Yeah.
And then somebody came through and bought it for them.
That was the first Alliance pick, actually. It was Nonpoint. The guy was a giant Nonpoint fan.
Oh my God,
and
I
the
do remember
first
that.
time the Alliances got together, they got him a Nonpoint song. That was
You're right. That is what happened.
That was when Leah was running
That's
that
right.
Alliance.
Shout out to Leah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All right, guys, here we go. Entombed is the band. Chief Rebel Angel is a song. Let's check it out.
Let's go.
It's like a heartbeat.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Shout out to Dwayne Chamberlain. I was told by Ben his stream would start at 10 p.m. I feel so betrayed. You must keep constant vigilant on the Discord for time updates, Dwayne. Dwayne, you should have texted me directly, my boy. I would have told you that. I would have told you the skinny.
I mean, secondly, Dwayne, you showed up now. It's almost 11 o'clock. So.
Well, we're always late. So he's probably like, oh, I'm going to miss the first song. We good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's betrayed. He's betrayed by those he trusted the most.
Yep.
They betrayed you, Benji.
Look, I think he translated it for you.
The Black League, Cold Women, and Warm Beer. Cold.
No.
Oh, boy. All right. I think this song was an ode to Lucifer, right?
That's what it looked like to me.
It's what it looked like. It looked like he was giving his propers to the morning star. Interesting. I already copied these lyrics, but I'm going to have to copy them again. This is going to be an interesting review. First of all, this was for SGS?
No, this was for EFOG.
Okay. First of all, this is my kind of song, man.
Oh, in what way? The sound?
Yeah. And like the way I'm a very big believer that if you can make the verse lines like really good to listen to, that you've got an all-time song.
Okay.
And that's why I think the vocalist from Alice in Chains is one of the top greatest of all time, because to me his vocal style, anytime you got to when he was doing the verses, it was always something amazing. So this was kind of like that, and then I'm like, there's got to be some limits here. This is a fucking ode to Lucifer, so like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, yeah. It's like when we gave the first Behemoth review like a 6. We gave it a 666.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not giving these motherfuckers.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm like, this is about intentionality. I'm not saying.
So I was like, fuck this. I was like, nah, I ain't doing this shit, man. I ain't dancing around to the fucking devil. Fuck that shit.
That's like when we were at that show and they were like, we
were at the Behemoth show.
Yeah.
They said, "Hail Satan."
Yeah.
And then I was like, nah, hail Jesus.
I was like,
And then what's his face saw us like two songs after he gave us our props.
yeah.
Hey guys, we're at 39. We got 36 dislikes and we got 36 likes and 3 dislikes. So all we need is one more like or dislike to keep going, because YouTube was blackmailing us. All right. Now let's go. Down here on the ground since it all began, experiment in moral and behavior. In spite of all imperfection, I'm a fan of man. The worm is my rose too. So why phosphorus as opposed to sulfurous? Because phosphorus is still bright, but what's interesting is, and I think you know this, Middle Earth, we use phosphorus in war, right? White phosphorus.
Okay.
So it's bright, and from one perspective, it's aesthetically pleasing.
Okay.
If you see phosphorus just by itself, or like if you shot phosphorus, and it's beautiful, but when you come in contact with it, it'll set you on fire. It's a horrible, horrible way to die.
Really?
Yeah, white phosphorus is. So that is a very apt terminology to use for the devil. Phosphorus, because it says phosphorus.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
He says phosphorus before he says Lucifer.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reason why. If he would have said sulfur, 1, that would have been overused. And 2, this guy's style of Satanism is to be more subtle. Because he says, don't get too cocky. Keep yourself small. Don't ever let them see you coming.
Mm-hmm.
So the scripture says, I think it's 2 Corinthians around 5, where it says that Satan camouflages himself as an angel of light in order to deceive people.
Yeah.
And so there is definitely the sulfurous aspect of the devil, but you can smell him coming from miles away if he shows up in the sulfur manifestation. But if it's phosphorus, it's light, it'll attract you. For example, if I set off some white phosphorus, or I deploy some white phosphorus at night, it's going to immediately attract your attention. And if you don't know what it is, you're going to go to it.
Wow.
And so it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, is that
for
true, Jason?
Lucifer to be manifested as, they were dropping white phosphorus in Gaza, which is a war crime. That's correct. Isn't it now a war crime to use white phosphorus?
Yeah, back.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And the same person that's motivating the lyrics in this song was also motivating the white phosphorus in Gaza. That's a fact.
Yep.
So this song is lyrically really on point with a satanic understanding of how this guy, to me, has a much better understanding of the machinations and operations of the devil than pretty much everybody in metal and 95% of Christian sort of projections of how the devil operates. Because if you look, and he says,
Did
like,
the beginning line, did you think was interesting?
Down here on the ground since it all began?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of throw this in there. So in the scriptures, it talks about Satan and how he deceived Eve in the garden. And a lot of times people picture that it was just like this kind of snake that's kind of like slipping through, and she was like listening to a snake talk to her. But if you look in some of the earlier writings, it was actually like a serpentine angel that was very powerful, very beautiful, and very influential. And after the curse, that's when it says that he's going to have to crawl on his belly for the rest of his life. But when he's introduced in the scriptures, it calls him the beast of the field, almost like demoting him and starting it out where you don't take a lot of respect for him, because it was like, oh, the beast of the field. Like, and in this, I know that they were trying to, this song kind of like is trying to like, it's an ode to Satan, basically, you were saying, but it says down on the ground since it all began. I just thought it was an interesting way to start it, because that's exactly what the scripture does, where it starts telling him like he's a beast from the beginning. But this one is saying down on the ground since it all began, because from the beginning, that's how we see him just crawling around about on the ground instead of being like this amazing creature. Like Eve saw him as this amazing creature, but everyone after that saw him as that crawling serpent.
Yeah.
Eating
He's
dust.
called a guardian cherub in Ezekiel. And there are some scholarship, and I agree, that cherub and seraph at some level are interchangeable. So seraphim are specifically mentioned in Isaiah 6. And what's fascinating, remember, this is an ancient Near Eastern religion, okay? And what do you have all over the ancient world, in the ancient Near East and Egypt? Is serpents, snakes. And so you had to figure out kind of how to coexist with these snakes. And so one of the motifs that ended up getting sort of canonized in the thought process of these people was that you had Pharaoh on his throne, and then you had two serpents guarding his throne. So
Yep.
you know, every sort of god had a bodyguard group, right? Pharaoh is sort of like this incarnation of a serpentine being, because you see the headdress,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is there to kind of replicate a python,
Yeah.
right? And then you see these images of Pharaoh, and he's got two, so he's like the big python, and then you have these two serpents guarding his throne, right? And so Isaiah has this vision, and he sees Yahweh on the throne, but he is being guarded not by like snakes, but he's being guarded by seraphim. And the seraphim, the literal title for seraphim is burning ones, the burning ones. And so they have a serpentine appearance. And we know that because the term seraph and the term serpent is used interchangeably in the book of Numbers. In the book of Numbers, there's this very strange incident where there's a plague of these pythons start biting and killing the Israelites.
And
yeah,
he meant cobra.
When it would talk about the serpents, it would use the term serpent and it would use the term seraph interchangeably. So serpent and seraph are interchangeable words in the Old Testament, especially in those contexts. And what Isaiah saw were two giant, and it's also interesting because winged serpents were also part of Pharaoh's throne guardianship. And sure enough, what do you have? You have winged seraphs or winged serpents guarding the throne of Yahweh. And so it was one of those beings that deceived Eve. When Eve and this person are talking, Eve doesn't go, "Oh my God, you're a snake talking." Now, a lot of people, because they don't know the Bible, they think, well, everybody read the Bible as a storybook. Or they think, oh, all these ancient people were dumb and they thought animals could talk. No, ancient people didn't think animals could talk. So there is a story in the Bible where a donkey talks. And before the donkey says a word, the author says, "Behold."
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because that's the Old Testament way of saying, you're not going to believe this shit. Okay? And then it says, the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey.
Yep.
Why does the Lord need to open the mouth of the donkey? Because donkeys don't talk.
Speak. Yeah.
So in that particular situation, the author's like, look, it's the same author, by the way, because you got Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, okay? It's in the same sort of complex of literature. In that one, the talking animal has to be justified. In other words, the author's saying, look, God opened this person's mouth. Okay, I know donkeys don't talk, but that's not what happens in Genesis.
Right.
And the reason for that is because the people in the ancient world understood that Eve was not talking to a serpent. She was talking to a seraph. Okay, and whatever you see on the earth is simply an image of something in the other world. So we are images of God.
Yep.
Okay? God is not a man. God is not man-like. We are God-like.
Right.
So seraphs are not serpentine. Serpents are seraph-like. Does that make sense? So when Eve is talking to this being, she is not thinking, you're a snake, I'm listening to a talking snake. And it also makes sense why she would take spiritual advice about God from that particular being.
Because
why?
they were the closest, right?
Because they were the closest, correct. The Garden of Eden was actually a mountaintop garden where gods, lowercase g, and men would interface with each other. And both groups were called the sons of God, and then you had God the Father and the Trinity as the head of this family. And so God had a material family of sons and daughters of God, and he had a spiritual family of sons, right, with the angels, and both of us were supposed to coexist. That's what Eden was. Okay? So when you're hearing about the serpent and all the rest of it, she's not talking about a talking snake. She's talking about a powerful, mighty seraph who she would have looked upon as an advisor, somebody who is holy, close to God, that could explain things to her, etc. And that's the reason why she has no problem having this discussion, because I'm sure they had previous discussions about this shit, about a whole bunch of other shit that he was right about.
Right, 100. Yeah, that's true.
But when you look here, it says, I am in spite of all imperfections, I'm a fan of man. And that's a really fascinating text, because that tells me that the kind of Satanism we're talking about here is Satan as an archetype of rebellion, and the guy that's really been on the side of humanity, right? It's kind of like this Promethean thing, like, why are you trying to keep all this knowledge from us? Why are you trying to impose your view on us? Satan then becomes the archetype of rebellion against unjust oppression, if that makes any sense. Okay?
Yeah.
So these people don't necessarily believe that Satan is a literal being, but they do believe he's an archetype of what it means to have self-will and rebellion, that type of thing.
Yeah. What we would need.
Yeah.
I think we need.
Many my names, but one and the same, chaos being in the everlasting flame.
See, there it goes. You know how many times we've seen that in a song where it's something that's like specifically like Satanized, and they talk about chaos? Yeah, and then you have it at the beginning of time where everything was, and then God brings order to it all. Like there is, I do think that is something to pay attention to, like how well or poorly you take care of your own body. As in, is it chaotic? Like you don't brush your teeth, you don't make your bed, you don't comb your hair, you don't do anything for yourself. Like, like I think that also kind of like tells us like the state of like kind of where we're at. Not that I think that the outward appearance is a telltale of what's going on internally.
Well, there's a branch in Satanism. The dude from Vatane, and I think the dude from Death. There's a brand of theistic Satanism where chaos is like the ultimate goal. You know how like we're bringing out the kingdom, they're bringing out chaos.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Phosphorus, Lucifer stand up and
Wait,
praise.
it's a strategy? Like, do they sit around and strategize how they're going to make the world more chaotic?
No, that's just the goal. That's a telos. That's where we're going.
Okay.
Because I think you need God for order.
Yeah.
You do not need God for chaos. But order is inexplicable without a purposeful mind. But chaos, you don't need a purposeful mind for that. But then the next question becomes, how can you even understand or appreciate what chaos is unless you already are operating from the standard of order? So it's impossible for you to escape God. But let's just continue and pretend that your upside down crosses are accomplishing that. We continue. Phosphorus, Lucifer, stand up and praise of the morning star. Lucifer's called the morning star in Ezekiel and Isaiah, I believe.
And there it is, your chief rebel angel.
Chief rebel angel, Phosphorus, in praise of the morning star. Don't get too cocky. Keep yourself small. We already talked about that. You know, that if you're the devil, you're not going to show up in a pitchfork and all the rest of it. You're not going to show up in sulfur. You're going to show up in chaos Gnosticism. Yeah, I think so. Chaos Gnostic Satanism, some shit like that, yeah. That's a really interesting line right here. Don't get too cocky, keep yourself small.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Satan's number one issue is pride.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this over and over again, that there is a godly way to do everything and a satanic way to do everything.
Yep.
There's a godly way to love someone and a satanic way to love somebody.
Yep.
Right? Like we were out there one time and this dude was talking about how this mom gave her son a steady, dose of heroin because she loved him. Because when he would, go into withdrawals, he was acting all crazy and shit.
And she didn't want him to rob somebody and then get hurt.
And I said,
the money.
Your mother is going to love your brother to death.
Yeah. Jeez.
There's a destructive way to love somebody.
Yeah.
There's also there's a godly way to hate and an ungodly way to hate.
Mm-hmm.
The scripture says God hates, but the wicked and those who love violence, his soul hates. So there's a divine way to hate, love, blah 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 blah. That is all good, and there's also a satanic way to love. There's a satanic way to help, and listen. There's also a satanic form of humility. Look what he just said. Don't get too cocky. Keep yourself small. That's humility. But the reason he's being humble is not because he is a child to a father. The reason he's being humble is because he's camouflaging himself and he wants to creep up on people unawares. Notice, don't get too cocky. Keep yourself small. Don't let them see you coming.
Right, right.
So there is a way even to be humble that is evil. There is no emotional or behavioral category that the devil hasn't found a version of that's absolutely destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All this stuff about people who make me feel good are good and people who make me feel bad are bad. That's a childish way to look at the world there, listener.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a little kid, you don't understand the world. You don't know what real evil is. All you know is you want a chocolate bar, and that nice man in the white van is offering you a chocolate bar. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people think, if I made a person feel good, that means I did a good thing. And if I made a person feel bad, that means I did a bad thing. You're wrong. If there's a satanic way to be humble, then there's a satanic way to do everything. There's a satanic way to be charitable. Is it charity? Give the little 5-year-old girl a chocolate bar? Absolutely.
But see, it comes down to intention again.
Everything comes down to intention. And what is his goal?
Yep.
And what is he trying to accomplish?
Yep.
Solid, my game. We're one and the same. Watching, waiting, holding my breath. This is such an important line right here. Watching, waiting, hold my breath. But I'm no puppeteer. The stage is set. You pull your own strings now like butterfly wings. Such a smart line. What he's talking about is some really sick people or kids, they'll take butterflies and pull their wings off. So he says, I'm not the puppeteer. He's saying, I set the stage. You are the one that did all that dumb shit to yourself and pulled off your own butterfly wings. I had nothing to do with it. All I did was set it up. Look what he's saying. Watching, waiting, hold my breath. I'm no puppeteer. The stage is set. You pull your own strings now like butterfly wings. Once they've touched, they never leave the ground. No, I don't make things happen here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was Chloe, I forgot her last name. God forgive me. But she was 13 and 14. She believed that she was a male. So they took her breasts from her.
Yeah.
And now she's 19, 20, and obviously regrets it and says, I was way too young to have made this decision. And you would not believe. This is a 19, 20-year-old girl. You would not believe the grown men and women who said, too bad, you made your own decision.
Jeez.
And that's how Satan operates. He'll deceive you. He'll lie to you. He'll get you to do some crazy, irreversible shit.
Yep.
And then when you end up saying, holy shit, what the fuck happened to me? The devil will be the first one and say, I didn't pull any strings. Mm-hmm. You did that to yourself. I didn't take your breasts from you. Mm-hmm. You pulled them off like butterfly wings yourself. You did that.
Which is the exact opposite of Jesus. Because when you done your shit and you make your big giant mess, he doesn't leave you in the midst of that. He says, I'm never going to leave you and I will never forsake you. Correct. And if you turn your heart toward him, and he says like that, if the mind that is set on him, like he's going to guide that person's steps. So if you know, that's the difference. Like the devil's going to lead you right up to that point and then just be like, you're on your own. You're shit out of luck. But Jesus is like, yep, you've made a giant mess. I'm right here. And it says he's the friend that sticks closer than a brother. Like he's right there. And he's going to guide us and lead us. But like the devil, no, forget about it. You can do all this stuff and worship him and do all these different things. But in the end, he is going to leave you destitute. And that is his plan. And that has always been his plan. And when you're in the middle of it and you're living it up with all the high feelings of the power and the this and the that, like it is a mirage. And it is a false wall that will fall. And when it does, you will see the desolation that is behind that. And that is where you're going to be. When you find yourself in that place and he's way far away and he's like, now look at what you've done. Jesus can come to you in that place, because it's when we're in that place of desolation that I think we're ready to grab for anything. We're ready to say, okay, like I need help. And, I say that, but there's also like this voice in the back of my head that's saying there's some people though where it will be too late. So you can't wait. Don't wait until you're gone from this platform to make that decision, to recognize your own desolation and turn toward the God of your souls and the friend that sticks closer than a brother and the shepherd of our souls. Like there is only one that shepherds our souls. That is it. Everything else is going to lead you astray and is going to lead you away from the path and is another form of that light that is actually darkness.
I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing it. What happened? Listen, we're going to get real deep, y'all. What happened to Chloe Cole was a form of self-hate and self-rejection. Mm-hmm. Right? That was a form of self-hate and self-rejection. And she was in a society that was celebrating her own self-hate and self-rejection.
Yep.
And then she went and manifested that self-hate and self-rejection in a physical way.
Yeah.
That is irreversible. And the same people that were clapping for her now gave her the finger and said, we ain't giving you no pity whatsoever. Jeez. You made those decisions.
So cold.
Cool. I'm glad, because that shows you the operatives. Listen, you don't have to believe in a devil. You don't have to believe in a literal whatever. You can believe that there are extra dimensional beings who communicate to us telepathically. If you need that, fine. Here's what I will say. There are malevolent forces in the world. I'm certain all of us, I forgot who said this today, but it was a very simplistic, brilliant way of putting it. I'm sure all of us have had ideas in our minds that are way too good for us. Like, some of us are like extremely selfish people. We're so selfish, we don't know how selfish we are. And then randomly, you'll be like, yo, why don't you help that homeless person over there?
Yep.
You've never done it in your life. Why don't you go help that person? And this person says, if you get a random thought that's better than you, it probably didn't come from you. Conversely, I'm sure everybody can relate to this. I'm sure you've gotten random thoughts that you are way better than.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. That's all I'm saying. can we all just admit that there are things about consciousness and communication that we're not particularly, we don't have the entire show about that at all.
Yep.
So if we admit that, maybe we shouldn't be so dismissive of these older people. Well, they didn't even have an iPhone. I don't know. Maybe they knew. But shout out to this song because I appreciate the honesty in this song from the devil. Speaking of the devil, go ahead.
It had a good tune to it, I thought. So obviously, it's bouncing around and to the tune. But I agree that the song itself was. Sometimes it's so honest that I'm like, what is the devil doing?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? You create this song like that?
That's what happens when you feel like you're so ahead.
Yeah.
It's like I used to, when I was playing ping pong, I used to say, okay, I'm going to get on the left side. I used to tell you what I was going to do before I do that shit. But that's why I say, like, Jesus be trolling people. Because Jesus did the same thing in Genesis 3. Like, I'm going to fuck you up, boy.
Yep.
I'm fucking you up. He told him right from the gate, I'm going to crush your head, boy.
Yep.
There's a lot of gang shit going on in the Bible. Believe me.
That's probably what. That's so funny because in the actual curse, he says that there was going to be that was going to crush the head of the serpent while the serpent was going to bruise his heel. So, like, I don't know, like, the devil, he's probably so prideful and he thinks that he understands. So he's like, okay, that means I have to crush his head before he can crush mine. Right. And so he's like, send him to the cross, death. Yeah. And then he dies. And then it's like 3 days later, he's rising from the dead. There must have been a real panic.
He's
trolling in the spiritual realm. Then he shows up in hell. He's like, give me those.
Let me hold some. That's what we used to say. Hey, you know what this is. Let me hold something. Hey, we friends. We're friends. We still gonna be friends though. The same society that's still pushing the perverted message of self-mutilation. Listen, all I got from my society and its desire for self-destruction is a destructed Jesus on a cross. If you took part in self-mutilation and self-destruction because you got deceived by the zeitgeist or whatever's going on in your mind, that's cool. It's not cool because of what happened to you, but that can be forgiven. And that's reason number 68 trillion why Jesus had to die the way he died.
Yep.
He died a mutilated death. He was lacerated to pieces because he knew that a lot of his people were going to take part in their own mutilation and destruction of themselves, psychologically and physically and otherwise. And he says, even y'all, come on over.
Yep.
And all the people that took part in mutilating that girl and fucking her life up, Jesus said, yep, come on over.
Only acknowledge your sin. You have to acknowledge it. That's the thing. You're not just gonna waltz over there. Like you have to acknowledge what you've done that's wrong.
Yeah. I appreciate the song because it lays out the devil and who he is perfectly. Like he will set the stage.
Yep.
But you make the decisions. Even if you're demon possessed, you're still gonna get held accountable because you had to work yourself up to the point where you allowed yourself to be inhabited by all those malevolent spirits.
The other thing too, going back to the butterfly part, you were saying that the wings got removed. They actually just got touched. That's the way that it is with like moths and butterflies. If you touch them and that dust comes off their wings, they won't fly. So they're gonna look like they're okay, but it's over with for them. And that I think is also the work of Satan in people's lives too, is that it doesn't necessarily look like as destructive as it actually is. But in the end, I mean, the butterfly couldn't get back up off the ground.
Ian, if you could please just listen to what Sori said, because she already explained the death of Jesus, and you're only looking at it from a physicalist perspective. She talked about that yesterday. I do want to say one thing, though, because MJ, with her perceptive abilities, figured something out, and I'm going to guess that she doesn't know the scripture I'm about to quote. But she said, is the devil foolish, or does pride encumber his intelligence?
Yep.
Well, the scripture explicitly says that, MJ. It says, you corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor.
Mm-hmm.
So because you were so awesome, you fucked up your wisdom. Because he was wise.
Mm-hmm.
He was wiser than all creation, but he was also more beautiful than all creation, and he couldn't hold those in tension.
Yep.
Good point.
Yeah.
9.2. Brilliant song.
It's I'm conflicted because I want to give it a 1 because I don't like that it's an ode to the devil. They 6.
But he
it's a 6 for me.
All right. I'll give it a 6. We're not gonna give the ode to the devil.
Yeah, and that'll be an average 6 between us.
Yeah, I still gonna give it a 9.2 because one, it was groovy, and two, it was a I thought a very biblically accurate way of looking at the devil. Even though these guys obviously took the position of that's what they want, because they don't want the devil to be another god. So they don't want anybody pulling the strings. It's all about doing your thing and all that. So still gonna give it a 9.2. Shout out to him.
6 for me.
Listen, 9.2, 9 minus 2 equals 7. 7 is the number of perfection, so
That's
God
it.
wins anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever.